present again, and I'm here today to talk about an event that actually starts tomorrow, or is tomorrow. It's one day a year in BC, and it's the Day of Pink, and it's a day to celebrate diversity. It's particularly celebrating diversity and tolerance in regard to members of the LGBTQ community, and I know I've spoken about that so many times now you all know what all of those letters mean. I'll just test you later. But tomorrow is the Day of Pink for celebrating diversity. And what I'd like to say as we begin is that in addition to this, there is also, and you may, just to avoid some confusion in a couple of the snippets you may hear, there is an International Day of Pink that's been adopted. It's an outgrowth of the same event, but it's celebrated in April, on April the 10th. So just, if you sense some confusion, that would be why. And this is Rick Mercer's, not a rant at this time, but his promotion of the Day of Pink. The next bit I'm going to share with you actually is, it's kind of fun for me to talk about this because you know that I come from Nova Scotia, and this initial initiative took place there. This was started actually by 2 Nova Scotia students, and they've been praised internationally and around Canada, of course, North America, for the way that they turned the tide against bullies who picked on a fellow student who happened to be wearing pink. The victim was a grade 9 boy at Central Kings Rural High in a small community in Cambridge, Nova Scotia, and he wore a pink polo shirt on his first day of school. And as one might imagine, bullies harassed him. They called him a homosexual for wearing pink, and they threatened to beat him up. 2 grade 12 students, David Shepard and Travis Price, they heard the news and they decided that they could and should take action. So they went to a nearby discount store and they bought 50 pink shirts, including tank tops, to wear to school the next day. They were anticipating a sea of pink of support. The 2 went online after they purchased their t-shirts to email all of their classmates and to get them on board with their anti-bullying cause that they had dubbed the Sea of Pink campaign. But what happened the next day was much broader and more emphatic than even they had anticipated. It in fact became what they called a tsunami of support, and it poured up the next day at the school. The word had gotten around, and not only were there dozens of students outfitted with the purchases that they had made at the local discount stores, but hundreds and hundreds of other students showed up all on their own because they've heard of this initiative, wearing their own pink clothes, some of them dressed in pink from head to toe. Well, the bullied student showed up, who's actually never been identified, and walked into the school and saw his fellow students all decked out in pink. Some of his classmates were heard to be said that it was a powerful moment, and he may even have blushed a little. It definitely looked like there was a big weight lifted off his shoulders. He went from looking right depressed, which is a bit of a Nova Scotia colloquialism, to being as happy as could be, said Shepard. And there's even, it's another little colloquialism, and there's been nary a peep from the bully's sense, which Shepard says goes to show what a little activism can do. If you can get more people against them to show that we're not going to put up with it and support each other, then they're not as big a group as they think they are. What they found out there is exactly what you find when you look through the research that I've presented to you previously from the McCleary report, which was done here in British Columbia, and the EGAL report, which is a national study. And that's that being neutral and thinking if you take no stand, that you are actually going to avoid becoming engaged in the situation is a positive thing to do. In fact, taking a stand and not being a silent bystander is one of the best and only ways to support people who are part of this community. If you happen to be a member of the LGBTQ community and you're fortunate enough to have a sponsor school in the GSA program, then that's wonderful. If you're a straight person and you want to become involved and you want to show support, then that in and of itself is a very strong message for those who need that. What happened in Nova Scotia has started a program that's been going on for a number of years now, and the Student Sea of Pink campaign didn't go unnoticed outside of the province. They were actually invited and they did go. The US talk show host Ellen DeGeneres expressed interest in their story, and other schools are actually running this, now as international, a Day of Pink program in different provinces. It's on different days. In British Columbia, it's February 27th. Across the world, internationally, it's now become the Day of Pink, and it's celebrated on April the 10th. The students' comments were, "It's been totally overwhelming for us. I mean, we're just 2 local boys. And I mean, we're getting calls from like Alaska and emails. It's just phenomenal, the support that we've gotten from across the globe, said Price. So this is amazing that 2 high school boys decided that they didn't want to see someone that they knew be beaten up for because of the situation where he happened to wear a pink t-shirt on his first day of school. They were able to pull together in one night a social movement that became not only an event in that school ever since, across the province, across the country, but internationally. It doesn't take a lot, is the message, to be an activist and be supportive. And so many people have asked me, why should people participate? Why should they bother to wear the pink? And I think this was part of the presentation that they shared as well. And it says it's because, have you ever seen a friend hurt because of discrimination? I think we all can think of someone that has been. And have you ever been hurt yourself? Discrimination comes in many forms, including racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, ageism, and anti-Semitism, just to name a few. These social diseases create barriers: bullying, harassment, hate, and violence. And no one should have to experience the negativity created by discrimination. Day of Pink is more than just a symbol. It's a shared belief in celebrating diversity. It's also a commitment to being open-minded, accepting differences, and learning to respect one another. This is one thing, a new initiative that's here, and this is a BC-born initiative. It's called the Torn Rainbow, or Sticks and Stones and Names May Actually Break Me. This is an initiative that comes out of the Courtenay Comox area. I'm not going to read all the information to you, but I do want to let you know that this is an award-winning play production that is available to schools across the province. They will travel to the area. They will put on productions free of cost because they are funded through the Community Justice Centre in Courtenay, British Columbia. And this is how they came to do this. The students, again, in Courtenay, Columbia, unfortunately had a student who committed suicide. They then decided to do their own study in the community, and they studied the profound effects of homophobia and decided that homophobia and racism are felt in our classrooms, our hallways, and on the playgrounds of virtually every school in the country. So they went to the students and they conducted over 50 interviews with students in the school at the time and recent grads to find out what it's like to live a day in that experience. And those words and those stories were blended together into a new play that explores what moves youth to throw insults and hurtful comments so frequently and so casually. Using the playwriting technique pioneered by the Tetronic Theatre Company in the production of the Laramie Project, the powerful and hard-hitting play exploring the Matthew Shepard murder in Laramie, Wyoming, Mazey has exposed some of the connections between attitudes of youth and the phenomena of bullying, violence, and suicide. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Laramie Project, but it was turned into a movie. It started out as a theater production, but it does chronicle the very violent death, actually, of a young man who was brutalized because of the belief that he was homophobic. He was gay, and the people that he happened to be drinking with in the bar were quite homophobic. They've actually gone back. It's been 12 years since this happened. They've gone back, they've reviewed the studies, they went to do an analysis of whether or not things in Laramie, Wyoming had changed, and unfortunately what they discovered was that they had changed not in the way we would have hoped. Instead of looking at and addressing their concerns about homophobia, they'd actually recreated history and rewritten it so that it was kinder to the majority of that population, and decided that he'd really been murdered because he was a drug dealer and it was a drug deal gone bad. And that was the way they rationalized what had happened in their community. This is also the project, the Torn Rainbow, was also produced in response to Jamie Hubley's suicide last year in Ottawa. And last time I showed you Rick Mercer's rant, and that was in relation to Jamie Hubley's suicide. And his death followed on years of unaddressed humiliation, harmful words, and a broken life in that milieu. One of a long line of teen suicides resulting from the treatment they received from their peers and the lack of adult intervention or policy to address the problem. This play raises important questions to discuss within our high school communities. I leave you with the hope that you will, at some point in time, I'll provide information later, encourage schools to bring the play to Langley area, which I'll be doing. And then this is a student's perception. Thank you.